build again, so we all have to be on the best behaviour. The minutes from the meetings held on the 21st of November and 4th of December 2013. Does anyone have any comments on those, please? Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to minutes 67.30, page 46 in the agenda, although the transcription of the minutes is accurate, I have since transpired that the response I gave in the supplementary answer is not accurate. I therefore like members to note that the Working Society only visited one school. The visit was independent of the council and it was not part of the consultation process. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have any apologies, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have apologies from Councillor Orty, Councillor Gore, Councillor Kate Haynes, Councillor Household, Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest, please? Public question time.
The area around Walton Bridge roundabout and the Woking and Reading Road often floods and causes major traffic problems for the residents of Early, Greenhurst and Wood. Can you explain what measures the council are taking to alleviate these flooding measures?
Thank you for your question, David. I appreciate how flooding across the borough is very disruptive, and property flooding is relatively rare, except in that area around the garden centre at the roundabout. But recent events have further highlighted how road flooding has a significant impact on people's ability to travel, affecting businesses, getting to school, etc. To address this, the council has commissioned a study to look at what can be done at key points on the network that will reduce the impact of such flooding. And these key points are the Loddon Bridge roundabout, including the A329 and the Lower Early Way, the A327 Arborfield Road near the Magpie and Parrot, the A321 Wargrave Road, about a quarter mile short of Henley Bridge, the A321 through Hurst, and around the Sonning Bridge area, and lastly Mill Lane, Winwick, or Sindlesham. Flooding of all of the above has a huge impact on the network, and being able to reduce the likelihood and frequency of flooding at these locations will have an enormous benefit to working residents. In addition, the borough continues to work closely with local flood risk groups and the Environment Agency to identify ways to protect essential infrastructure as well as homes. And finally, the borough is working with other authorities to raise the profile of a potential third Thames crossing. Have we heard that before? Such a bridge would reduce the pressure on various parts of the Woking Road network and help alleviate congestion, not only in times of flooding, but at all times. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Angus. Certainly, one serious use of the grant that we said in the council meeting, the cabinet meeting, was that money could be used on the showcase roundabout, that obviously has flooded and closed for, I think it was 5 days this year.
Please formulate a question.
The roundabout is a depression, and building up the road would severely help alleviate this flooding, and similarly on the Arborfield to Shinfield out like the side of Magpie Parrot. Is this the kind of thing that you're looking at to do?
The quick answer to that is yes, it is the things we're looking at. Obviously, we have to take account of the engineering requirements, what's there, and also any effect it might have on the floodplain. But yes, that's the sort of thing we'll be looking at.
Mr. Jones, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is for Councillor Pollock. Could you tell me the total amount of money spent by the Borough Council and any of its associated companies on the regeneration of Woking Town Centre between the 1st of January 2010 and the 31st of December 2013?
The answer is yes, I can. It's 15.1 million.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Can you tell me how much of that expenditure was not in your original plans?
I think I would say it's all been in our original plans.
Sorry, Anthony? Didn't hear.
As far as I'm aware, all of that expenditure was part of our plans.
All 50.
Yeah, it's all part of the whole plan to redevelop the town centre.
Thank you very much. Any petitions, please?
Good evening. My name is Malcolm Leatherby. I am a resident of Chatsworth Avenue, and I'm here this evening to represent my household, but also 16 further residents in Chatsworth Avenue, Greenwich. The aim of our petition is to ask the council to permanently transfer land which is currently the buffer zone between the rear of our properties and Chatsworth Park, the new bogus development of some years ago now, so that we may extend our boundary fences over this buffer zone. This will save Wokingham Borough Council maintenance expenditure, both in terms of land maintenance but also the stream. It would also alleviate the problems of antisocial behaviour, drug abuse and other general disruption and general noise. It would also, we hope, alleviate attempted burglaries, of which I've experienced two. The positives from the petition are threefold. This would allow residents in this area to have more secure homes by extending the fences. It would also allow residents to undertake maintenance of the stream and the additional land. I should also point out that before the Chatsworth Park development, certain of our residents actually had the rear part of the land in question as a rent approved situation with the local farmer. So there is a precedence for this. Thirdly and finally, the permanent transfer of the buffer zone to the Chatsworth Avenue residents reduces the local burden of maintenance to Wokingham Borough Council, which I hope you will agree is relevant in these times of reduced local government resources. I hope you can look on our proposal favourably, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leatherby. I'd like to congratulate Here For You, age 4, which is a 5-a-side football team, initially set up and sponsored by our Children's Services Department and consisting of care leaders and staff. Last Friday, they won the Project of the Year award at an awards ceremony hosted by Get Voucher Active. I also like to congratulate Paul Swardle, who recently was awarded an OBE for his voluntary political service locally and nationally as Conservative Party Conference Chairman and President of National Convention. Agenda item 74.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I would like to recommend that the Council approve item 7401, Housing Revenue Account Budget, 7402, the Capital Programme and Strategy, 7403, the Treasury Management Strategy, and 7404, the Medium Term Financial Plan.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Pollard, do you want to speak now or later?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this budget is a budget for the future of this borough. As a council, we have set out a very clear vision, that is to make our borough a great place to live and an even better place to do business. And central to our vision are to facilitate the regeneration of our towns and villages, create an environment that allows businesses to thrive, continue to work with our partners to maintain our outstanding educational attainment, excuse me, deliver well-designed, developed and strong communities, ensure financial viability despite annual funding cuts that this council is receiving, and invest in prevention services that increase or maintain our residents' independence. And tonight you will hear from my colleagues the details of what we have achieved and what we continue to do to ensure that we make our borough one of the best places in the country to live. This budget tonight proposes or includes 220 million of capital investment over the next 3 years. This shows an ambition and determination to invest in the borough and to improve the lives of all in our community. We are investing in regeneration, employment, business and the local economy. We are investing in affordable housing, schools, extra care housing and other specialist housing for the needs of our community. We are investing in the future prosperity of the borough through town centre regenerations. And through our own housing company, we will be bringing some 100 affordable houses over the next few years, which are of course in addition to the houses being built on our 4 strategic development locations. We are investing in sustainable new communities with the infrastructure and amenities that they need to thrive. And we have stopped the majority of inappropriate backland development. The provision of this infrastructure has been facilitated through skillful negotiations by our officers, which has obtained increased contributions from developers, which now stand at some £27,000 per dwelling, as opposed to that previously obtained being £7,000. These better developer contributions have led to the bringing forward of much needed infrastructure, including, I'm delighted to say, 6 new roads, an event that this borough has not seen in the last 30 years. I believe the last one was Lower Early Way. We continue to invest not only in our young people's education, but also in their economic well-being. Our recently opened Aspire College helps young people get ready for work in an environment which combines academic work and technical training. In January this year, we set up the first of our 12-week courses to help those of our council tenants who are unemployed to set up their own businesses in areas such as gardening, hairdressing, window cleaning, and to regain their independence. This is all about helping people to realise their potential and take control of their lives rather than remaining dependent on unemployment benefits. We're also ensuring, with such a huge capital programme, £220 million over 3 years, that suppliers take on local apprentices as part of our contract letting. We will continue to help our residents retain their independence through support to stay in their own homes instead of moving into residential care, and by providing excellent specialist housing to those with learning disabilities, to give them homes for life in the community which is near to their family and friends. This is indeed an ambitious, bold and achievable budget, but we owe it to our residents to invest in our community to help steer it out of austerity and to a more prosperous and brighter future. Despite a cut to our ongoing funding of more than £3 million next year, increased spending pressures on statutory services through our increasing numbers of elderly people, and inflationary pressures of £2 million, we have managed to invest heavily in our future and contain our council tax rise to 1.9%. Furthermore, we have protected other frontline services that are also so valued by the community. This is a testament to the ongoing efficiency and careful financial management of the council by a committed Conservative administration and committed officers. As a council, we continue to be the lowest funded authority in the country. And in addition to that, we are the top of unitary authorities for council tax collections. A council that has the lowest proportion of staff to the population ratios, and a council that continues to make every pound go as far as it can for the residents of our community. This is a responsible budget. It is not a budget chasing popular headlines. It is a budget that invests in the future of the borough whilst planning for the years of national austerity ahead and protecting our valued frontline services, which do much to meet the needs of our vulnerable. It does that at a cost of only 46 pence per week increase for the average Band B household. I would like to thank all of my colleagues and staff for their hard work that they have put in over the past year and their ambitions for this borough over the coming years. I would like to say special thanks to my colleague Alistair Corrie, who has worked tirelessly on the regeneration of Woking Town Centre. Alistair has contributed a great deal of time, and those of you who know the work that goes on behind the scenes will appreciate that. It is a phenomenal amount of time that my colleagues put into this council, and to a great deal of time and work, and this has all got to the position where we have a town centre which is ready for its regeneration. It has started. You have seen the outcome of that across from the town hall. Alistair needs to concentrate. He is a young chap. He is concentrating now on a new venture which he's undertaking business-wise, and I wish him all the very best in that new business. I would therefore, Madam Mayor, like to commend this budget to the Council. Thank you. Sorry. Could I just add one thing, which I forgot? Total apologies. Alistair is stepping down, as I've said, on many thanks to him. I have asked Philip Murphy to take over the reins for the regeneration, and I apologise to Philip wherever he is sitting here. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Congratulations to Councillor Melville.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank officers for their help in preparing for this meeting, and Anthony Pollock for his cooperation, which meant that we saw this budget nearly 2 weeks before the meeting instead of only 1 week before. Well, that's baby steps towards full budget scrutiny, but it's progress nonetheless. Now I'm going to talk about the capital programme. The Liberal Democrat Group's primary objection to it is that it includes nearly 59 million for the regeneration of Woking Town Centre, more than 5 times as much as for any other capital scheme, and that is only part of the total 95 million cost. Section 9 of the Chief Finance Officer's statutory report says the regeneration must be closely monitored, as small variations could have a significant impact on capital resources. In other words, this is a high-risk project. The Council is not a property developer. It was unable to find a private sector partner prepared to share the risk of the project, and that should have given pause for thought. Can this project really deliver for Wokingham Town? And what about the rest of the borough's towns for which it does nothing? It is focused entirely on one town centre in a borough that has many towns and villages. So focused that the medium-term financial plan refers to it as the town centre regeneration, as if there is only one town. So much for residents. What we want is a low-risk, much lower cost scheme that makes money, will help provide a sustainable future for all the borough's town and village centres, but does not involve destroying green space at Elms Field. Can it be done? We think it can, and here's how. We say no shops or supermarket or new road or housing or hotel on the green space at Elms Field or the Palace car park. Any hotel could go next to Carnival Pool, where the Wokingham Town Master Plan said it should go. There is no reason why this should mean a worse financial return than the Council's proposal. We think the brownfield site of the former Wellington House and its car parks could take houses. Unencumbered by other construction costs, it would generate a comfortable profit for the Council, as well as affordable housing, which is missing from the Council scheme. We would improve the green space at Elms Field, but unlike the Council scheme, not by making it much smaller or cutting down trees. We would put in water and electricity supplies to support events. We would add play equipment, including some suitable for disabled children, some for teenagers, and some for adults. And we would pay for it with Section 106 developer contributions, money already in the Council's coffers, over £900,000 destined for use on leisure in Wokingham Town remains unallocated, according to the December Section 106 report. What I have described will cost a fraction of that amount. As for the shops, we do not rule out some changes to Peach Street in the future to improve the retail experience there, but we do not think a large construction project should be our first priority. The British Retail Consortium reported a 19.2% increase in online sales last year, with nearly 20% of non-food items bought online in December. And yet the Council's most recent retail study shows the online share of sales of comparison goods peaking at less than 9% in 2010 and flatlining thereafter all the way to 2016. It's nonsensical to proceed with building additional expensive retail space based on such inaccurate, out-of-date information. The world has changed. We need to meet 21st century challenges with a 21st century answer, not just physical, but also virtual development. The Council has so far failed to get anyone to sign a contract for a supermarket on Mansfield. The supermarket companies are no longer simply looking for sites for stores as they used to. They want sites for dark stores. A dark store is a supermarket-sized warehouse where the staff pick products to fill online orders for home delivery. They're cheap to build, with no complicated highways or customer parking issues. If the Council were to find a site for one in the borough, we are sure a major supermarket chain would be interested. Money for the Council and employment for residents. And the final part of our scheme is the hub, not just a physical, but also a virtual town centre. Wokingham is the most IT-savvy council area in the entire country. Let's use that to help all the small shops, small businesses, charities, the markets, voluntary groups and sole traders from car valeting to cake making. A virtual town centre website will give them a professional online presence that is far beyond what they can manage on their own. And connected to the real world through an actual hub, a community internet cafe in the town centre to host a click and collect service for retailers wherever they are located. This is an opportunity to get ahead of the game and move retailing in Wokingham Borough into the 21st century. And best of all, compared to the Council's Regeneration, it costs very little, can fund itself, and will help all sorts of businesses and voluntary groups across the borough, not just a few people in one town centre. There are people who are seduced by the idea of a visible megabucks project like the Council's scheme, and come to believe that such big bang bricks and mortar projects, however risky, are the only way to effect change. But they aren't. What we are putting forward is in fact more exciting, far more radical, and much better suited to the 21st century. And crucially, it is also low cost and low risk. In putting these plans together, we've listened to what residents have been saying so loudly over the past few months. We believe in consultation, so we will now be asking people what they think about our plans. We believe we can revitalise Wokingham Town Centre without destroying it in the process. We can save Aldersfield, and we can pay attention to the needs of all the other towns in the borough too. We believe our scheme to be a better way forward. We cannot support a capital programme that destroys the heart of Wokingham.
Does anybody else like to speak?
Thank you. I would like to propose an amendment and ask the officers to circulate this amendment, and if the Chamber needs a couple of minutes to read and digest it, I will then start my speech to the amendment. Chair.
Do you have a second? I propose that we have an adjournment. Do I have a second there?
The 0% rise in the council tax base means to the Band D council taxpayers a savings of £23.71 per year. And the commitment to quality services spread equally around the borough and not just concentrated at Conservative members' seats. We would not pay for the 0% council tax rise by taking up, we would pay for the 0% council tax rise by taking up the government's council tax freeze grant. This year, we would make a reserves contribution, we would increase budget savings as forecast, and reduce unnecessary costs to Woking Borough Council's owned companies, while at the same time reduce the cost of the green waste bins by £15. We have reviewed your medium-term financial plan and found it predictable and lacking in ambition. You're going to cut £5.9 million worth of services, and you still refuse to take up the government's council tax freeze grant of £800,000. You will cut bus subsidies by over £100,000, and you will increase charges and reduce services you provide to the most needy in the borough. Last year, we asked you to review the council's contracts, centralise purchasing, and you're now starting to do that. We have been encouraging a review of senior management structures, and you're now starting to do that. We predicted that the blue bags and waste-related savings would be far less than £1 million, and that's the case. We said you should not be making a profit from your green waste charges, but you are. We are not against the Woking Town Centre regeneration plan in principle, but it's the scale and the location of what you're proposing, and it's not what the public wants. A smaller proposal will cost less and achieve the same thing. But I still ask you to vote in favour of this motion of saving £15 and a £23.71 saving for the council taxpayers. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yes, I will speak.
Before I start, I say congratulations to Paul, by the way. I am very pleased to second this amendment. The Leader of the Council has just delivered a budget that even Ed Balls would have been proud of. It's high risk, high cost, has a high level of borrowing, and is highly unpopular in certain quarters. I shall focus on two areas, green waste and contracts. Regarding green waste collection, it has come to our attention that the Council is forecast to make up to £20 per customer per annum from this service. It is our view that the Council is overcharging, some would say fleecing our residents. We propose that the current annual charge of £60 be reduced to £45. This figure still provides Woking Borough Council with a modest return. We also believe that a lower charge will result in a greater take-up, so that within 3 years, Woking Borough Council could be achieving a greater revenue from this service than currently forecast. We estimate that the reduction in charge will cost Woking Borough Council around £136,000 from 2014-15. When the waste contract comes up for renewal, the Lib Dem Group will be pushing for a single, affordable one-off charge to cover this service. I now focus on contracts. Whilst we acknowledge that some important progress has been made in this area, however, with £59 million worth of contracts up for renewal in 2014-15 alone, we believe that additional savings can and should be made. We estimate that a further £200,000 of savings, if not more, could be made this coming year should WBC pursue a more structured approach to contract negotiations than it has done in the past. This £200,000 of savings more than covers the impact of the proposed changes to the green waste collection charges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else like to speak? Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, Tom, you bankrupted us once, and now you want to do it again. Just for members looking at the papers in front of you. Page 3, the percentage change in formula grant shows the impact since the election of the cost we have had to pay in reduced income in connection from the government. Page 4 shows the impact of something called the floor. The floor is a technical position where if the government has an econometric model for allocating money. We don't score very highly because we have fewer ethnic minorities and less deprivation in other areas. We therefore get a damping grant of some £10 million in order to keep our government grant at the level that was historically given to us. So by not taking the council tax rise, we put ourselves under risk. If the government were ever to take the floor away, we would have something like £10 million to make up. Looking down to the second part of page 4, you can see the council tax formula grant funding per head. We have the lowest in the country. We have, yes, we have risks around our budget. That is why we need, when we are 86% funded by our council tax, we have to, in this instance, keep our council tax levels up, because if we don't do it this year, then we give it away forever. That is why taking the council tax freeze grant is not in the interest of the financial soundness of this authority. Looking at item E, increasing master procurement. There is already £500,000 in the budget. To increase it to $700,000, I think is a bit of a stretch. The efficiencies of staffing. We already will deliver by the end of this financial year £1.5 million worth of staff savings. I always get concerned when pushing staff savings too far, because we have had experiences in the past when it has led to significant extra costs biting us down the line. I think that we have got a valid £1.5 million savings now, and to push it further is dangerous. I think the 530 million for reserves of, oh, I don't know what it is, but let's stick a balancing figure in, is bluntly stupid. Therefore, I recommend that you vote this amendment down, as it is dangerous and it is a threat to the long-term financial viability of this council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly to respond to Anthony. Most councils in the country have accepted the freeze grant on the basis that they've taken government's word that it would be rolled into the baseline. You've chosen to take a different view, and we agree with the majority. Our residents are hard pressed. We should probably try and prevent them having to pay more council tax. You attack us for taking money from reserves. I've made 2 points in response to that. First is that actually you are underspending this year by £593,000 according to your own revenue monitoring report in January, which is rather more than we plan to take from the reserves. But of course in Woodley, Keith Baker has taken money from the reserves himself, and obviously there's a difference because he's a Conservative and we're the Democrats. And let's deal with this idea that Tom, once and for all, that Tom somehow bankrupted the council. I don't think he bankrupted the council, bankrupt. Most of you sitting around here don't know anything about that, because you weren't councillors at the time. Some of you will remember, but some of you have perhaps slightly odd memories of what actually happened. A small amount of spend was committed by officers which they should have recorded in the council's accounting systems, but didn't. Something that we know actually still happens, despite the fact that when we were in control, we ordered better accounting systems than the one we had at the time, which you are now benefiting from. Alan Spratling, to his credit, refused to publicly blame officers for that. It would have resulted in a small overspend, but it was only discovered after the elections. However, the vast majority of this figure that we would apparently have bankrupted the council with was actually money that the Conservatives, that when they came in, claimed should have been in the budget, but wasn't. Not money that had been spent and not budgeted for, but money that they decided to come up with a figure that would make the Liberal Democrats look bad and put it out there. And in fact, most of that money never even ended up being spent after you'd said, well, we should do it. It was a figure manufactured for political reasons by you having a subject administration. And it's not rubbish,
It is
but most of you
rubbish. It
don't
is
know
absolute
any better.
rubbish.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Order. Councillor Lee, you have the right to reply. Do you want to use it?
Yes, please. I've heard the last point there which Drew was raising, I find amazing. Because if you look back, I don't think there were any reserves.
2 million.
There was 2 million. So the facts which were being presented by Anthony and which we are disputing are on public record. But the thing which keeps coming up about the spending in Woking and nowhere else Conservative, it's beneath you, Tom, to say that. Let me just remind you of Woodley. Woodley has had a brand new Wangels, a brand new Addington, a brand new Alexandra extra care housing scheme. We have now approved an extra care housing scheme on Fosters. And we've also got £6 million being spent on Bulmarsh School. And the money spent on Bulmarsh School.
That should have been spent on
Are
Bulmarsh
you?
years and years and years ago.
I'm sorry?
I said it should have been spent on Bulmarsh years ago.
Council meeting is not a public meeting.
I would totally agree with the comments there, and I could remind them that they were also in power for a short period of this authority and were replaced by this administration, who has achieved an enormous amount. But I want to make just a couple of comments. We are being presented with an alternative budget here tonight. I promised Prue Bray in this council that we would give her the information to come up with sensible alternatives and suggestions. You talk about actually working together, but yet you present something which has been shown to be total rubbish tonight. You did not give us any chance to consider it. And the one point which I would like to mention, taking 530 from reserves and taking the 800,000 is lost forever. And we have had serious flooding in this authority. We need reserves to sort that out. And we have already said that we will sort out flooding in this authority. So, Madam Mayor, I would reject this amendment and would request that we go straight to the vote.
Thank you very much. Before we vote, I would like to tell you that regulations are coming into force on the 25th of February, which require councils to record the votes cast by individual councillors in relation to any council text decisions, including any amendments. And there is a presumption that if a council meeting is taking place before the 25th of February, we will still follow these regulations. Thank you. Yeah, let's go to the vote. All those in...
I should go through the list in order to have a recorded vote. Fingers crossed. Councillor Baker.
Against.
Councillor Bauer.
Against.
Councillor Bowery.
Against.
Councillor Bradley.
Against.
Councillor Bray.
For.
Councillor Chopping.
Against.
Councillor Clark. Councillor Corrin.
Against.
Councillor Cowell.
Against.
Councillor Ferris.
For.
Councillor Firminer.
Against.
Councillor Gilder.
For.
Councillor Grandison.
Against.
Councillor Mike Hayes.
Against.
Councillor Taylor.
Against.
Councillor Helia Simons.
Against.
Councillor Holdsworth.
Against.
Councillor Holton.
Against.
Councillor Jorgensen N.
Against.
Councillor Jorgensen P.
Against.
Councillor Kaiser.
Against.
Councillor King.
Against.
Councillor Lee.
Against.
Councillor Lloyds.
Against.
Councillor McCann.
For.
Councillor McGee Sumner.
Against.
Councillor Mile.
Against.
Councillor Murphy.
Against.
Councillor Monroe.
Against.
Councillor Patman.
Against.
Councillor Pittard.
Against.
Councillor Pitts.
Against.
Councillor Pollock.
Against.
Councillor Ramooni.
For.
Councillor Richards.
Against.
Councillor Ross.
Against.
Councillor Rowland.
For.
Councillor Shepherd-Dubay.
For.
Councillor Singleton.
Abstain.
Councillor Slight.
Against.
Councillor Stanton.
Against.
Councillor Swaddle.
Against.
Councillor Tomlin.
For.
Councillor Weeks.
Against.
Councillor Wyatt.
Against.
Councillor Eunice.
Against.
Anybody hasn't been called? No? Okay. The amendment is defeated. And we will carry on with the debate. So, Councillor Ross, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2 points from the recent exchanges. I do remember, and the Lib Dems did set an unsound budget.
You're not allowed to us to set an unsound budget.
If only we'd known that at the time. The second is on green waste. The scheme is break-even, and it's, I think, the consideration of most people that it would be unfair to subsidise certain residents for this service and the user pays. And I think in your calculations you forgot to consider the cost of disposal of the green waste. It doesn't just disappear. I want to remind you on more mundane matters of flooding, the formation of a task.
Point of explanation. The figures I quoted were provided by the officers, and it provided a clear indication that there was a £200,000 profit from the green bin waste. You need to check your own figures.
Councillor Harris.
I will take that outside of the meeting because obviously we've asked different questions.
Exactly.
Yours being the right one.
Mine being the right one, of course. Just on more mundane matters of flooding, not mundane at all, I must say. But I just remind you of we've talked about it already, the formation of a task force to review the effects of recent flooding and how we might invest in some areas to reduce that impact, not only on homes and businesses, but also on our roads. And to this end, the leaders already sought out the help of Minister Baroness Kramer. We saw the effects of road closures on these same people, and of course we're still seeing that with Sonning Bridge closed. And we'll come back as soon as we can. At an early stage of the recent events, we ensured lack of current budgets did not impede provision of help, and we'll end up sharing this financial burden with central government. Bids are going in as we speak. Just to note that many properties have benefited from local works carried out since the 2007 floods, but of course there are many more that need our help if solutions can be found, and we will be looking. Yesterday, the government said they will be setting out eligibility criteria and details of flooding support schemes, which the Prime Minister announced. And that, I'll just give the headings, which is 100% business rate relief scheme, council tax exemption for flooded properties, £5 million flood resilience grants, and business support schemes. What I can say tonight is that this council will contact all known affected households and businesses related to this. It will publicise this on our website, and it will ensure our customer contact centre is briefed to provide the relevant information. There's been progress over many environmental fronts, and work continues at a pace. We're looking at enhancement and extensions of our facilities at our country parks at Clinton in California, as well as preparing for the opening in April of our exciting destination play area, which I can assure residents, and there was some concern about this, it does include challenges for all ages and all abilities of children. And it comes in on budget. We will be consulting widely as future plans, further plans come forward. In working with our new public health team, we've secured investment in our leisure centres.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I note that Prue criticised the budget for doing nothing for the rest of the borough, and then said nothing in her introductory speech about what the opposition would do elsewhere in the borough, and concentrated completely on the working town centre development. I would like to talk about my portfolio and how it benefits the entire borough. Key focus for last year and the coming year are value for money and customer service. Last year we made significant financial savings with the implementation of a shared print service at Bratton Forest Borough Council, which saved £50,000 in a full year, and improvements to IT contracts for mobile phones and other suppliers, which saved a further £100,000. We're continuing the shared legal services, environmental health and licensing, which continue to provide benefits with the ability to share niche expertise and reduce overall costs of buying external consultants. Savings in the back office, of course, enable limited money available to be focused in frontline services, which I believe is where our residents wish them to be spent. Library services go from strength to strength. The footfall is significantly increasing through innovative improvements in the service, including free e-books, magazines, Link with Leisure and the free swimming initiative, and heaps of activities for kids. 98% of customers have been either satisfied or very satisfied with the library service. This is the highest satisfaction measure in the country. Thanks in particular should go to all the dedicated library staff for their hard work in what is quite a difficult environment. Despite doom-laden speculation a couple of years ago to the contrary from the opposition, we have not closed or privatised any libraries, like many councils. We're working closely with local residents, the MP and user representatives to move forward the provision of a transformed library service in Clyde. We have agreement between potential users that Colhampton School is a preferred option. The parish council has expressed its support, and the borough council are working with user groups, the community and other interested parties to raise the required funding to make this project a reality. I would point out to Councillor McCann that this is not in a Conservative seat, this is currently in a Liberal seat, although one would always hope that maybe that could change. Looking to next year, we're going to launch a customer service programme to further improve our residents' experience of dealing with the council. People have higher and higher expectations, and we need to continue to raise the bar. We will progress further with the provision of Twyford Library, and we will further develop innovative library services. We're going to provide Wi-Fi in libraries and community houses and replace some of the IT equipment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I'd like to detail some facts around the council and what we're doing with housing and affordable housing in the borough. We as a council recognise the high cost of housing in Woking in the surrounding area, and we need to ensure there's adequate housing which is suitable and affordable for current and future generations of our residents. And as such, I think it is important to explain how we are tackling the problem using new and innovative schemes. South Build project. We are beginning to scope out the opportunity for South Build as part of our affordable housing programme. It is something which WBC has not embarked on today. It is a complex process, but we are confident we will be bringing forward a programme of South Build using land already owned or passed over to the council as part of the affordable housing commitment from developers. This will be over the next 12 months. This will lower the entry cost to residents who wish to own their own homes and are prepared to put more than money into fulfilling their dream. Shared ownership. This is a very successful programme currently offered by the council, which allows residents to get on the housing ladder at a reduced cost and allows the purchase of their homes in a phased way, acquiring additional equity over a period of time, giving the flexibility to match outgoing with income while enjoying the benefit of home ownership. In addition, Wokingham Housing Limited, set up by this administration, presents the council with an opportunity to develop and build low-cost housing for residents of the borough and help provide new homes for our children and future generations of Wokingham. At the same time, it generates an income stream for the council which can be used to help to pay for much needed and valued services provided by the council. And here are some facts, okay? This is what we've done. The hillside development, in which WHO, in conjunction with the council, have taken a derelict mobile home site, which was a blight in the area, and turned it into 10 flats for people with learning difficulties, including 1 flat for living carers in addition to 2 further old people's bungalows. This has been done in less than 24 months from start to finish, and it's the first residents will be moving in at the end of next week. It is also attracted a funding grant of £350,000 from the government. This has allowed the council to deliver much needed specialist housing at much reduced cost to the residents of the borough. Eustace Crescent. I'm pleased to be able to update you on the progress we've made with Eustace Crescent project. This is another exciting opportunity for the council to work with Wokingham Housing Limited to regenerate Eustace Crescent estate into a flagship mixed tenure new development. This will be their first major project for WHL and will provide a significant revenue stream for future investment and growth. The project will completely transform the 1960s flatted development of single tenure council housing. The existing properties over time have become outdated and numerous problems have arisen. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So many good things.
I know, I just forced to do it.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Well, I hope I'm actually going to give the Chamber two good things to be proud of this evening. As members will recall, after a detailed consultation with residents and their families during the course of 2012, we regretfully decided we had no other option to close the Foster's Care Home in Woodley. The closure finally took place in October 2012, with all the residents being moved to better accommodation later that year. This was a difficult decision to make, but one we firmly believe was in the best interests of the residents and their families, as the building is not fit for purpose and due to its design could not be adapted for modern day living. During the public consultation regarding the closure, the Council made the commitment to look and use its best endeavours at using the site for older people's accommodation. A proposal, I'm pleased to say, has been adopted by the Executive. The proposal was brought before the Executive in February for approval to provide additional enhanced sheltered housing for elderly residents, and this was approved. It is proposed that the new scheme will provide affordable housing in the form of quality 21st century accommodation for the frail, elderly and older people with dementia. The scheme will be targeted at those who would otherwise, due to lack of alternatives, have to be placed in residential care. Initial feasibility designs indicate a scheme comprising some 33 one-bedroom apartments, each at least 55 square metres in size, would be possible on the site. The new scheme will be fully accessible, provide communal facilities such as assisted bathrooms, lounge, dining room, hobby room and guest sleepover accommodation, something which the previous building was unable to accommodate. Furthermore, all the apartments will have either a private balcony or a ground floor terrace. Whilst we recognise the decision to close Foster's was a difficult one, I hope members will understand that we have kept our commitments in providing something better on that site. Now turning to health and wellbeing. As members will know, under our responsibility for health and wellbeing, the Council decided to offer free swimming to all children under the age of 18 during the school summer holidays of 2013. The free swimming would run for the duration of the school holidays, and whilst we didn't set a specific target, we had aimed to generate around 10,000 visits. However, once the trial period was completed and we analysed the final numbers, they exceeded all our expectations. Some 28,498 visits were made in 46 days. This was the first of many initiatives being considered, and now that we have control over what our residents want to see to improve their health and their lives, we aim to replicate this in other areas. I believe these are two great areas where the Council has taken the correct decisions to benefit those living in our borough. I would like to conclude that much has been said about the Dilnot report and the Care Bill. I would like to say that there is still a great deal of uncertainty over the detail with regard to the Care Bill. A lot of the detail is somewhat of a minefield, and it may potentially leave us significantly worse off. Much work is being done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gilman, please.
Thank you. Whether the decision is to rebuild Almost Leisure Centre or refurbish it, facilities are likely to be shut for some time while the works take place. I assume that arrangements will be put in place so that people and clubs will be able to continue by moving temporarily to a different centre. This is likely to be complicated to set up and administer. I hope local members in Woodley will be involved in discussions about what is to happen. I mean genuinely involved. We cannot have a repeat of the situation we have just had, where the borough was led to believe that the town council had agreed to the early surrender of lease on the leisure centre when no discussions had actually taken place. Almost Leisure Centre is now part of the borough's main leisure contract. The medium-term financial plan shows an additional £210,000 for the borough council next year from maximising the benefit of the leisure centre contract, but no details of how that will be achieved. What is to stop it ending up coming directly from increasing the charges for the users of the leisure centres? Unlike the charges for other sports facilities, leisure centres charges are not set as part of the fees and charges in the budget. And finally, on another Woodley issue, while we are pleased to see the Foster's site will be used on a new form of care home, which is what we asked for when the previous one was shut, we would like progress on the project to be carefully monitored. Working on the Housing Limited is a fledgling company which has only had one small project so far, which has not come in on time or budget. It will be asked to take on both this and the rebuild of Eustace Crescent simultaneously, both big projects and both important to the Council. We want to be sure appropriate action will be taken if either project starts to slip in any way. Thank you.
Councillor Baker, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just respond to something that was mentioned. I am extremely privileged to be the first Conservative leader of Woodley Town Council for 40 years. And the very first thing that we started to plan was a council tax reduction. We have achieved, through savings, a 5% reduction in council tax. And what did the Liberal Democrats do? They voted against. Every single one of them in a named report, they voted against. And here we see they want to have a reduction. Let me go on to my area. On the policy side, we have had the success of the Managing Development Plan document being found sound by the inspector and will be adopted hopefully by the end of this meeting. The policies within this now will have significant weight in any planning appeals. This includes confirmation that we have a 5-year land supply which has been reaffirmed at several appeals. Ad hoc developments throughout the borough can now be tightly controlled. The Community Infrastructure Levy policy is moving forward and likely to be adopted next year. The Gypsy and Traveller Local Plan, that process has started, along with the reassessment of the needs assessment. There has been an increase in appeals dismissed around inappropriate Gypsy and Travellers sites together, with 100% success in removing illegal encampments. We are certainly not seen as an easy touch anymore. Congestion will not be alleviated by simply building more roads, although we are getting the 6 new roads, as the leader talked about. It is vital that residents are given different transport choices. Over the next few years, in excess of £3 million will be invested in new cycleways throughout the borough. Public transport will also be maintained and improved with a continuing investment of around £600,000. There is no change in the service. The £100,000 that was referred to earlier is actually through better contract management. Precisely what you have asked us to do, we're doing it and have done it consistently year on year on year. My final comment is around car parks. Charges have again been left unchanged, which now means they have not been changed since 2008. That's 6 years of no change. They continue to be extremely good value for money, and that is reflected on the continuous growth of ticket sales and collected hours sold every year over the last 3 years. Both tickets and hours sold are now in excess of what they were in 2007, and this is a definite trend to residents staying longer in a car park, which means better footfall to our retailers. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, Madam
There are two different opinions in the capital programme for Bournemouth Leisure Centre. One option is to rebuild it, the other is to refurbish it. One costs a lot more than the other. I hope you are not going to pick the cheaper option just because it's cheap. You are spending nearly 100 million in Wokingham town. People in Woodley pay their council tax too. and should see a fair share of the money spent on their area. I want the people of Woodley to be asked about what they want. What do they think the leisure centre should be like? What activities do they want to see provided there? So far, nobody in Woodley has been asked, not even the town council or the borough councillors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rowland, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been a councillor here now for many years and also a school governor for over 30 years in this borough. I have, of course, seen lots of changes over that time. Schools handling their own finances, the inspection regime becoming much tougher, the change from Berkshire County Council to unitary authorities, and of course the introduction of the national curriculum. The latest changes, brought in by the Labour government and expanded by the current coalition of academisation and free schools have, I think, been the most damaging for local authorities. Most of our secondary schools are now, or are working towards, becoming academies. This takes a disproportionate amount of money from the LEA and helps with schools, mostly primary, remaining in LEA control, including my own schools of Southlake and Highwood. It is becoming clearer that support from the centre is reducing. At what point does Rockingham Borough Council as an LA become unviable? What are you doing about this? Councillor Jorgensen spoke earlier about shared services. Is there a plan to work across authorities in the same way that Legal Solutions and Trading Standards have? Are all the LAs in Berkshire below the mass that is critical to supporting schools as schools would want to be supported? We don't all want to be driven down the Academy Road, so what next? What's your solution to this? It's hard enough now to find people to serve as school governors. The workload at a school that is completely outside the LEA is huge, and of course remains unpaid. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Tony, please.
I'm concerned that this budget contains only a very small amount of money for civil parking enforcement. How do we know that you're committed to this? Let's look at the evidence. There are lots of complaints around the borough over parking issues. The majority of councils surrounding Woking Borough have civil parking enforcement. In this area, there was a pitiful response to residents' complaints about parking issues. In many areas close to the mainline railway stations, residents suffer from this on a daily basis. It is clear that there is a considerable confusion when residents call the 101 police number to report parking problems. The 101 response residents get is to contact their council, and it's due to confusion because 4 of the Portons Valley areas have civil parking enforcement arrangements in place, but not in this borough. Woking Borough relies on the police, who no longer have traffic wardens and have to juggle this work with their other priorities. So illegal and inconsiderate parking in the borough is just not being dealt with effectively. You set up a working group to look at civil parking enforcement, but could not find a chair for it and wanted us to lead it. Is this because you are not really committed to dealing with this issue? Did you want to blame someone else? If it all went wrong, are you running the council or not? As for the community hub in Twyford, there is no money in the budget for this again, yet huge amounts of money and time are to be spent on your pet project that to date has failed. 95 million on the Woking Town Centre Regeneration from this Woking-centric administration. So Woking-centric that you have even referred to the Regeneration project as the Town Centre Regeneration. This is a borough council and not an enlarged Woking Town Centre council. What a poor message to send to our residents in the rest of the borough. What a poor and appalling leadership. As for value for money for customer services, and the library going from strength to strength will not in Twyford. The library in Twyford is a disgrace, dilapidated building, and it's not on. Nobody for money for the residents in Twyford.
Thank you, Councillor.
Well, yes, you would.
Thank you very much.
Arrogance.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank David Lee for giving me the opportunity to serve the community at the highest level. It has been an honour and a privilege. I've been working with Councillor Philip Murphy for the last few months, and after tonight he will be the exec member for Regeneration. I'd like to congratulate Philip on his appointment, and I'd like to invite him now to give us an update.
Thank you, Alistair. Madam Mayor, members, I think this is an opportune time to provide some updates on the progress of the walking of the town regeneration. The historic frontage of 38 Marketplace is now restored, as is that above Boots. This brings the flats forward to create an improved frontage with more suitable window patterns. The new stairs and lift shaft is under construction for the entrance to the new flats, with the brick facade cut back and demolished to the ground floor building line. The new facade will be built to give a much more attractive finish. Work to the Clark's Corner building has started, so a more appropriate pitched roof can be built on the corner of Broad Street and Rose Street. I'm pleased to report that works remain on programme and are still due to finish in the summer of 2014. I'd also like to reassure residents that the lane closure on Rose Street is due to be removed at the end of February, and residents' parking bays will be reopened at that time. Scaffolding along Bike Clarks will remain in place for the next few months whilst construction continues, but two-way traffic will be reinstated. A well-lit pedestrian walkway has now been set in alongside the Clarks. The Rose Street car park and shops along Peak Street were purchased in 2010. The purchase comprises a total of 25 commercial units, with a vacancy rate of 28% at that time. The current vacancy rate is 0%, as all units are now rented out, including 38 Marketplace, which, though a construction site, has a tenant identified. I'm happy to confirm that our Peak Street Place assets currently produce an income stream of approximately £700,000 per annum. This is able to support the debt financing and allows for a substantial surplus. Concern was raised before Christmas when the planning application was withdrawn. This was because we felt there were changes specifically required to improve the market town feel of the properties being built along Peak Street and Rose Street, as well as some concerns about the new town park. We reacted to the comments from residents and members and are well advanced in our plans for resubmission later in the year when we are satisfied with the outcome of our design review. Once we are able to resubmit, I will take the opportunity to provide the revised proposals to the key residents associations, the Chambers of Commerce, Working Society, the town team and the town council, so they can share our revised proposals and comment. Key elements of the proposed amendments focus directly on our wish to design new buildings to reflect the actual Wokingham architecture rather than a generic location, to replace the poor 1960s parade of buildings which lowers the overall quality of the town, to increase the area available for specialist events and markets within the town centre, whilst enhancing the town park with facilities residents want. We'll deliver the right regeneration in Wokingham by creating a successful scheme which balances community benefits against profitability where many private schemes have failed, establishing long-term control retained for the benefit of the borough rather than the developer, creating a self-funded project which does not rely on the public purse to supplement spend rather than going to private shareholders. The profits in return will benefit the community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Shepherd, please.
I'm very concerned that the budget...
I did try and stand immediately so as to not interrupt somebody. Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask for a suspension of the relevant standing orders to allow us to continue the debate for an extra 20 minutes so as to enable all members who wish to make a contribution to be heard.
Is there a second there? Yeah. Okay, all those in favour, please. Please show. All those against? Nobody against. Okay.
I am concerned that the budget fails to include anything for flood control improvement, just the usual level of highway drainage. Why is this? Have you not learned anything from the terrible flooding of 2000, 2007? or the one recently since Christmas? How long was drivers obtained an amphibious vehicle to get through the showcase roundabout several times a year? Why no capital schemes to improve the highways in Embrook so they don't flood by the Embrook School or under the railway line by the Rifle Volunteer? What about the flooding problems across the borough? Are you going to rebuild the swimming pool at Beaumarsh, or are you planning to moving it outdoors for large parking lot? It seems that the only drainage improvements are the creation of a financial drain, an ill-conceived, unpopular regeneration project that builds on green space that should be useful in soaking up rain, not taxpayers' hard-earned money.
Thank you. Councillor Stanton, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Mike, congratulate you, Rochelle, for the best joke of the evening. Well done. In fact, the only joke of the evening. Can I just deal with one thing just before I do talk, and that's really the point you made about HR, and you said, well done for the new structure, and, you know, would you please like to get on with it? Well, we've almost finished. So I just want to be clear that we have more than got on with it. Now, a matter of importance when creating the annual budget, members, is to examine your expenditure. And we've done that, of course. And of course, we leave that in the capable hands of Councillor Anthony Pollock. And you believe me, he does know where every penny goes. Another very important issue, of course, is to ensure we encourage investment into our borough and we bring wealth in. And we do this in a variety of ways. Our vision was a clear statement of a more business-friendly place, a great place to live, and an even better place to do business. One way we do that is via our key involvement in the Local Enterprise Partnership and our support for the LEP bid to government for substantial future investment, the draft of which has just been out to consultation, and I'm sure you've all seen that. The final bid will be made before the end of March. While this is a very competitive process against 38 other LEPs, and it is absolutely cutthroat, it is clear that we already have the second largest economy in the UK, in Thames Valley. Only London rates higher, and we need to protect that and enhance that. And that is what the bid is all about. We're also reviewing the working economic plan, and you'll see more of that as we go towards the autumn, which will need to reflect the LEP, as well as ensure that the document is targeted towards our local needs. The bid document contains an ambitious plan, list of plans, many around infrastructure requirements, which Keith Baker's a world expert on. They include highways, SDLs, development and town centre development, as well as the futuristic science park, which fits in well with the requirements for high tech. Read the bid and you will note the document includes a lot of working plans within it, and we have been very involved and effective within it. We're also about to launch the City Deal, which is already covered in the earlier executive meeting, but anybody who missed that, just to let you know that it's a great opportunity. It will give our young people, it will give them career prospects, which is good for them and better for us. Some currently miss out, and we will be able to improve access to apprenticeships for them, which I welcome. This is in addition to the excellent new facility we have opened in Aspire in Winnersh, already offering opportunities to some young people who, it has to be said, were in danger